Hello, this is Taj McCameron of Sacred Places Love Letters to God. And this topic is something that came to me when I was actually recording my podcast, Seem to Live the Dream. Go check it out. But this was more of a spiritual post, and I think that this is better acclimated for here. So, and this is actually some of the little offshoot postings that I'll be doing as things that are on my mind or food for thought. There's going to be a little bit of a long broadcast, but it's going to be talking about the things that are on my mind. And there's a current wave going on right now, especially in the Christian community, that if you're following on social media, there's two different viewpoints. One is the kingdom spouse theory versus the non-kingdom spouse theory. The non-kingdom spouse theory is that we are guided by the Lord into our relationships, but there are certain key points that match up with the kingdom spouse theory that they try to take out. One, because I'm believing that a lot of people don't believe God can touch a person's life in this way and or manner, though there are multiple testimonies that can show forth that this is happening and happening very rapidly, especially in a season like right now. So what's the kingdom spouse theory? The kingdom spouse theory is that every person is created for somebody else. When the Lord created us as human beings and individuals, just as he created Adam, he created an Eve for her. With that being said, that we actually, as we walk through life, if we aren't walking with our purpose, walking with God in the way that we're called to walk, then we actually are not coming into alignment and agreement with what God's will is for our life, and actually could be very well missing the very person that we're meant to be married to, due to the fact that we are not giving our lives over to God, coming into alignment with what he desires for our life, and that the Lord himself will send a man and or woman into a man's life to bless them to be the perfect alignment, the rib for the man, and for the woman, the covering, the security, and what it is that they are seeking in their lifestyle. Now, I've seen many of a testimony of women saying that they met their kingdom spouses within a series of months, and then they got married, and they've been married. I've heard pastors tell the story. They met their kingdom spouse one day, were married 6 weeks later. I've heard situations where it seems like it's almost, and I believe this is why the church does not come into alignment and agreement with it, is because it seems like it's a little woo-woo for the Lord to have somebody that you're called to walk with for the remainder of your life. And I actually believe that is incorrect because of the fact that it's happening. I have spoken to women. I have dealt with women. I've heard their stories. And it's this belief that, can God tell you who your spouse is? Is it possible for the Lord to be able to tell you who you're supposed to be with? See, the thing about it is, and this shows the amount of faith that people have that walk with the Lord, that are walking in the church. See, a lot of people go to church for show. They go to church to laugh and sing and praise and dance and jump and holler and show their showmanship of being a churchgoer, but they don't actually read their word enough to know that the word actually speaks of faith without works is dead. And true faith is to believe in something that you cannot see until it manifests. And the women that believe in the kingdom spouse theory are women that actually have the belief system that believe that it's a potential possibility that there is a person that they are meant to walk in life with. They don't have to chase. They don't have to try to figure it out. They don't have to sit up there and pull their hair out. They don't have to sit up there and wonder or wander and so on and so forth. But then if this thought is true, then I've heard stories of women they did just completely let go of relationships, didn't want to be in a relationship, weren't interested in being in a relationship, went on a vacation and ran into the guy that they married and been married to for years. And they weren't even a follower of God. But then there's this theory in relationships with regular believers that, oh, if you want to find the right person, God's going to tell you to date. God's going to tell you, oh, you got to look around here. You got to look around there. God's he's going to give you all of the wisdom to prepare you for it, but he's not going to give you the person, or he's not going to tell you who that person is. Did you ask? If you're a true faith-filled believer, do you know that you can ask God for anything? As I recall, the word says, seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be open, but ask and you shall receive. I was looking at a video by a Christian YouTuber the other day, and she was making the point of saying there were certain things in her life that she needed and had the desire and the utterance to ask the Lord for. She was in a season of her life which was very pivotal, that she walk into the right open doors, the right open season, and the right things. So what she would do is, just as the word says, there was a scripture that says in certain seasons there were people in the Bible that would ask, like, this is a pivotal point in time, God. I need to know, what is it that I need to do in this situation? If this is the case, God, turn the sun so that it creates a shadow on this particular area of the ground. Let moss grow on that side of the towel, but not on this side of the towel. Okay, you answer that question. I'm still feeling a little bit conflicted and confused. So can you let moss grow on the opposite side and not touch the towel? Can the dew fall on this side and not on that side? Can the towel be damp and the ground be dry? Can the ground be dry and the towel be damp? Because I really need to know if this is the answer that I'm really seeking. Most people don't understand that the most important relationship you could ever have in your life is the spouse that you walk with for the rest of your life. Because that particular person, if they're supposed to lead and cleave, how is it that they're going to guide you, lead you, and direct you in the direction in which you're supposed to be walking in and growing in and going in, if you're not walking with God and they're not walking with God? Some people believe, oh, I can be married to this person. This person is a Buddhist, but I'm a Christian, but I'll turn them over. Where is this at? Because last I checked in the Bible, it says two people that are unequally yoked will never agree. There's a possibility on occasion that that person can be turned to God. Now, some cases, people will already be married and that person believe in one thing and the other person believe in the other thing, but that person is willing in their belief system to come over to Christianity and start to learn to observe what Christianity is. And what usually ends up happening in the best case scenarios is that the person that was under another religion comes over to Christ and releases and relinquishes all that was in that belief system. But at the same time, I've found that 9 times out of 10, you're not going to change the person. So that person usually ends up divorcing and marrying somebody that they're more aligned with, because as they change themselves, begin to grow themselves, begin to develop themselves, begin to find themselves, because the thing that happens in most people's cases is this: we are grown from childhood to have a certain set of belief systems that our parents taught us. And how many times have you heard a person say, I did that because I was being forced to as a child, that my parents wanted me to do that. They wanted me to be a lawyer. They wanted me to be an accountant. They wanted me to be this. They wanted me to be that. But I actually only wanted to be X, Y, and Z. So guess what? They'll even marry a person that is in alignment with what their parents wanted them and never really come into the alignment of what it is. And then when you find out that these people, they've been together for years and all of a sudden they divorce, and they find out, well, why did y'all divorce? technically, I never really liked the idea of X, Y, and Z in the first place. And when I came to the understanding of who I was, what I wanted, and what I truly desired, this marriage and this relationship was no longer in alignment with what I truly desired to be in. The point of a kingdom marriage is to get you in alignment with who you are first, discovering your beliefs, your mindsets, your emotions, your belief systems, your social understanding, your spiritual understanding, and getting your finances in order with who you're supposed to be as a child of God. And once you determine your creative endeavors, your callings, your gifts, your talents, and what giftings you have, then you come into alignment with the person that you're supposed to be with. But you're never going to figure that out until you come into purpose and alignment with who you're supposed to be first. But see, the fact of the matter is, when you think about all those things, a lot of people aren't willing to take the time, the energy, and the space out to say to themselves, hey, who am I? What do I really want out of life? Do I agree with the belief systems my parents taught me? What are my spiritual beliefs? Am I in alignment with that? Do I really want that with my life? What is that? And if I'm going to get a partner, shouldn't they be in alignment with where I'm supposed to be going, not where I am right now? Just a thought. But then there's the Christian base that doesn't believe in the kingdom spouse theory, that they believe, oh, well, I'm going to just date, and God's going to send somebody. But the kingdom spouse theory says, no, you don't date at all. You pray, you put before the Lord your petition as to what you desire. You never sit up there and say, I want a 5-5 dark chocolate, this person, this way, this, they gotta have a bank account, their mama gotta love me, and everything else. Excuse me, are you shallow? How long you been walking with God? If you sitting up there creating a list like that, I mean, seriously, how long you been walking with God? What we doing? Where we at? What's up? I'm gonna tell you. Did I write a list? You darn skippy, I wrote a list. It's actually in my first book. I wrote it down as the dream vision that I had for my relationship. That's a to be continued. But I knew what I wanted, but I also knew that I had to give the Lord the ability to choose. There were times that I used to walk around the park and I'd say, I know I'm not in the season that I'm going to get married, but I'm not looking right now. But if I was, Lord, I'm not picky. I'm not sitting up here saying that he's got to be this, that, or the other. Is he going to love me? Is he in alignment with the purposes and the direction in which you're calling me to go in? What is it that in all of these gifts and talents, can this person stand next to me to be able to do that? Can I stand next to them in what they are doing? Can they mentally and emotionally withstand being my anchor? And can I be the anchor to them? Are they spiritually grounded enough to carry me spiritually when I'm under warfare? Can I handle their social situation and can they handle mine? Do they have enough of a charismatic personality that whether they are out and about in the world doing what it is that they're called to do, or sitting in a family gathering with family, are they still going to have that same charisma, and vice versa? What are we truly asking for when we're getting into these relationships? And then why is it that I find that people make these types of lists and they cop out? No, I don't think that God can do that. And it's not that they say that I don't think God can do that. They sit up there and say, by their actions, oh, I'm going to go date. Oh, this is taking too long. I'm going to go date. This is taking too long. I'm going to go date. You know, there's a story I heard. I think it was Heather Lindsay did a interview with a woman. She didn't get married until she was about 43 years old and had her first two children at 45 and I think 47. And people were like, wow. But she waited to get married. She didn't just sit up there and say, oh, I'm going to just jump in and get married. Because most women, they have the vision of the house with the picket fence and the husband, late 20s, early 30s. Let me tell you something. If I had my life the way that I wanted it, I'd have been married at 27. I'm 34, almost 35, and I'm still not married just yet. But I actually hadn't given my life to God until I was 26. 26, was it? 26. Somewhere between 25 and 26, I gave my life to God. Fully. I was always a prayer woman. I was always the type of person. When I was in trouble, I knew to call God because my mother had taught me that at a young age. But I didn't give my life to God until about 26, 27. But I do remember 2 years prior to that, I had bought a Bible and then I put it up in a box and didn't read it. I think I opened it one time and read all the way through Genesis and part of Exodus and put the Bible away. It took about 2 more years before I actually started reading it consistently and started to live my life through the ways and the principles of the Lord. But see, faith without works is dead. See, the thing about it is women want to have their list and generate this characteristical list of what this guy is supposed to be. And then they figure, oh, I'm a date and try and figure out who this person is. Guess what? I'm going to tell you this and I'm going to tell it to you strongly. I believe when it comes down to that, that can be a dangerous place to be. Because guess what? People are walking around here dating like the devil don't exist. Like the devil ain't going to try to send you a counterfeit of the relationship that you truly want. See, because when you align with God and you're aligned in your purpose and you're aligned with the thing that you're supposed to be called to do, you know that the devil going to try to send you somebody to distract you that's fit, fine, and looks like everything you ever wanted. Everything you ever wanted. But have you noticed? This is the thing about it. The ones that sat up there and waited, they ended up with these people that, what's the first thing they always said? She ain't my type. She wasn't the type that I was dating. He wasn't the type that I was dating. They weren't anything like what I would have thought that I ever would have married. They got married, had kids, and been married for years. And the stories that I've heard is always that it's been one of those types of scenarios that when they met their spouse, it was at a random situation that occurred. I will never forget this ministerial prophetic woman that I listen to right now. She did a testimony, was it last week, of a woman who just got married in, I believe it was Nigeria. And the woman, she did something on a whim. She just simply said this. She held out her hand to her girlfriend's phone and said, by this time, I don't even think she gave a time frame. She just held out her hand and said, you see this finger? Which, the way this viewfinder is, this is actually my left hand. You see this finger? It's going to have a ring on it. Start the time lapse now, because it's about to go down. She said that. Now, she said that out into the atmosphere, not even thinking that it was actually going to happen. You know what the Lord created? And this would only be a Lord created scenario, because you would never think that on natural circumstances something like this would occur. She got into a car accident, and the guy that she got into a car accident is the guy that she married. So she got the ring on her finger. But sometimes men are just a little bit slow that they ain't gonna be able to see it, so God has to kind of run them right into what it is that and where it is they're called to be. It was an actor I heard when he married his wife. he randomly had gone to the airport, something he did all the time, always flying out for movies and such, that the woman was sitting in the airport. She happened to be upset about something, and in the kindness of his heart, he walked up to her and he saw that she was upset. He sat down and tried to console her. You know that's the woman that he ended up hooking up with and marrying? And to this day, as far as I'm concerned, that they still married, and that was several years ago, he said. Like over 10, 15, some odd years. God will send you the one for you, but you have to be willing to wait for the person. So there's this theory in the church that if it ain't a kingdom spouse, you're supposed to be out there, oh, I'm going to date. No, I don't think so. Because I've seen people, and there are two theories that come against the kingdom spouse thing, and that is, if you're not dating, how are they going to find you? If you're not out there, how are they going to find you? If you're not... There's a minister that I listen to. She's very prophetic, very powerful in the spirit, and her words are 100% accurate. And you know something? I'm going to tell you this about her. Listen carefully. When she met her husband, she had been single for about 5 or so odd years. She gave her life to God. She was doing everything that God needed her to do. She prepared for the fact that she knew that at some point she wanted to get married. She was not dating. She actually was living out in a lake house out in the middle of nowhere. A friend of hers decided that she wanted to take her out to a party, boat which she really didn't want to go. This guy came up to her. Now most people would be like, oh, that's the guy for her, because he had all of the trimmings, the fineness, the this, the that, and the other thing. And guess what? She knew right off the bat, because he had no interest in God the way that she did, kept trying to get her to come out of the church instead of going to church. On Sundays, he would try to be like, oh, let's go to the picnic. Let's go there. Let's do this. Let's. And she said, you're not the one. Couldn't get the guy to get off her phone. The same day she was trying to have a conversation with this guy to get him off of her phone, she got a text message on Facebook from another guy. The other guy, she's been married to him for the past 7 years. And he found her on Facebook. She ain't have to leave her house. She ain't have to go nowhere. She ain't have to do nothing. What are we out here doing? I'm hearing these Christian women out here that are dating. They're like, oh, I'm leaving my options open. This guy, he's got the characteristics, but he ain't quite it. I got this other guy sitting over here that's hanging on, and he potentially got the attitude, but I'm still not. He ain't quite got it yet. This other one, he's like, and I'm saying, you dating 3 guys at the same time? That don't sound godly to me, guy. That don't really sound godly to me. Does that sound godly to you? Because that sounds like worldly if we run around here dating people all at the same time. Because for one thing, you are allowing your soul to get tied to somebody that potentially you have no interest in, because there's these things as soul covenants that can occur that just by looking at you, a connection can be formed. That's why you'll see, and because I'm doing this on this channel, I will make the point of saying this, that you know that a person, that if they are under the form of witchcraft, what they will do is they will walk up to you and look you directly in the eyes in order to create a soul tie just from looking at you, in order to create a bond with you, in order to put a love spell on you. And I'm going to say this much, and most people probably wouldn't even believe me if I said it. There was a guy several years ago that he was interested in me, and I kept trying to figure out, I had no interest in him at all whatsoever, but he was an older gentleman and he had wisdom, and I loved the wisdom that he carried, but I wasn't interested in him like that. We used to go to the park, we used to sit and have conversation. He had that kind of fatherly figure role that I liked, because me and my father weren't in a great relationship at the time. And it's funny because me and my dad ended up moving in together shortly after that, and I didn't want to deal with him anymore. But he kind of became rather obsessive about me at that particular point in time. But I remember that about 3 months into our conversations, I was sitting down somewhere else. It was just before this guy called me. And I felt this sensation come over me. This is what happens when a love spell comes over you. A sensation will literally befall over your head, and you'll feel it come down upon you, over you, where you'll have this, I want to say like a duping delight, like a euphoric, transcendental feeling that makes you feel, oh, I think I'm falling in. That love feeling, but it came over you. You didn't feel it, it fell upon you. And you're like, wait a minute. Now, true love doesn't fall on you. True love, it grows gradually. Sometimes you'll have to walk into it. Sometimes the two of you will be in the midst of each other, but it doesn't fall on you. I felt it fall on me. And something was like, for one, I knew I didn't like this guy. And when it fell on me, I was like, no, this ain't the guy. I knew it in my spirit. My spirit was saying, no, that's not the one. That's not my guy. The feeling came off of me. I released it. I let it go. I ain't felt it since. Not towards that man nor any other person that I was in direct contact with. And I felt how weird it was, but I had a dream prior to that. I don't do dream interpretations, but I had a dream that I saw two people, that the person had one interest in me. And then the other person, I was in the body of someone else in the dream. And I saw one person having an interest, and I saw another person having an interest. But when I rejected the one person to the left, the feelings toward the other person came on the opposite side, meaning that the feeling fell upon them, just like it fell upon me in reality. But because I decided to make the decision to reject the feeling, it couldn't land. For it says in the word that they will come at you one way, but they will have to flee from you. That the enemy will flee from you. If you reject a feeling that comes upon you because you know that in your spirit it don't feel right, it can't do what it was trying to do. You understand what I'm saying? And if you're not spiritually aware, you wouldn't know that this is a possibility that a spirit can, or that a spell can be cast upon you. And if you don't, in that moment, when you feel it come upon you, reject it, it will try to make place within you. Because there's such a thing as spirit husbands and spirit wives that you aren't aligned with. But they're trying to align themselves with you. There are people that will try to transfer your destiny. There's a whole thing. Because they will do anything and everything in their possibility in order to prevent you from getting aligned. Because once you come into alignment with the person that you're supposed to be with, which brings me to my next point, there's this thing that some people will try to convince you that the Lord didn't tell you that the person that he told you was your spouse was your spouse. Because I've sat in teachings and I've listened to people. And these particular teachers, they were great in the word. But if you don't understand what the Lord told you, there's a passage in the Bible that states that there is this young prophet who had an elder prophet, that he trusted the elder prophet so much that when the elder prophet told him to stay in town, when he knew in his spirit that the Lord told him to leave, the elder prophet said, come, stay, sit, eat, and drink, and then leave later. Because he enjoyed the saying and the speaking of that elder prophet, he did exactly what he said. And at the time in which he left, because he stayed, he ate and drank, and then he decided to leave, he was killed on the road leading out of the town by somebody else. He was attacked, mauled, and eaten. Who do you idolize? Because of the fact that you got to know how the Lord will speak to you, because I'm telling you right now that if you are in alignment with being one that desires to have a God-ordained spouse, the Lord will tell you who your God-ordained spouse. But if you open your mouth up, even to other Christian people, that if they don't understand the kingdom spouse theory, they will tell you, God didn't tell you that. Because see, the enemy will do, he will use voices that you already listened to give you the full and complete understanding that that ain't the one for you. That's not the one. He ain't the one. That's not who you're designated to be with. That ain't it. Are you sure? Because the enemy will send visions and people, and sometimes he'll just use an image of a particular person, and that image will be the thing that they're trying to show you. God's just using that as a image, not the actual person. Because I have had on occasion where I've had a dream of a celebrity, and then within 24 to 48 hours met a person with that celebrity's name. And that was the way that the Lord was showing me that I was going to have this run-in. But sometimes I've had dreams where I've dreamt of a person I've never seen before and run into a scenario where I will see the exact person that I saw in my dream that I've never met before in person within 24 to 48 hours of having the dream. So it's a potential for it to go either way. But see, the enemy does make false evidence appear real. He will plant seeds of doubt, especially the closer you are to the manifestation of the promises in your life. And there are some Christians that don't fully believe or have faith to that level, that if they don't have the faith to that level, they won't believe that can actually be the thing that occurs in their life. So they will settle for, I'm a date and God will show me who's the right one. Maybe if you ask and have faith, he'll just show you who's the right one. And the catch to that is you got to wait for him. Some women have had to wait 5 years. Some women have had to wait 10 years. Some women have known who the person was. God actually let them know who the person was. And they wrote the person. They tried to get in contact with the person. Sometimes us as women, we just be like, we got to initiate. But the scripture says he who finds a wife, which means he got to do it. We can't do nothing to initiate or alter or create the open opportunity or situation and scenario. They got to do it, not us. So there's a conflicting theory. Can you find a spouse like that? I'm sure people do. But you must be spiritually aligned, and you have to walk even closer with God to make sure that you're walking in the right direction and the right alignment for that to